short visits. And she was out of high school and I was out of college, and she had the feeling, I learned later, that I was an older person, and she had a complex about this college graduate talking to a high school graduate. So we didn't see each other after I went to graduate school for 47 years. Didn't communicate anything.
Okay, and where you met Wilhelmina, was it at the University of Wisconsin?
I was in Beloit, Wisconsin, on my way to the university. I was working at the Wagon Wheel Lodge in Rockdale, Illinois, a few miles from Beloit, Wisconsin, just across the state line. She was working there. I knew her brother. I was working with him.
The Wagon Wheel?
Wagon Wheel Lodge. It was a restaurant and lodge, and a lot of young people worked at it during the summer going to school, and she worked there. And her brother worked there, and I had worked with her father, I learned later, in '56, when I first went to Beloit, Wisconsin.
But nothing came of that for, let's see, 61 to 80 to 2008?
It was 47 years before we saw each other again.
Wow.
And I met her in January. We started communicating and became engaged in June, got married in October. And
Of 2008?
Got married in October 2008. She died 2015. And I've been back since then once to Wisconsin. Of course, she was buried there.
You were born in Wisconsin?
No. I've been back to Wisconsin since I was there to her service.
Right.
I took her back to be buried.
Is that where the service was in Wisconsin?
Well, we had two. We had one here and we had one there. And the bearer's there and the family, with the family. And I went back a couple months ago. This is that long a month ago. And I'll be visiting family from time to time. She had 4 grandchildren that are my grandchildren now. So.
You had children with your first wife also?
My first wife and I had 3 children. They live in Minnesota and in New York.
What is your first wife's name?
My first wife was Dorothy Mae Morris Beard. She died in August of 2005. And we had 3 children, and she had visited them quite a bit in New York with 2 daughters. And now I'm visiting them in New York, and we have a small business there. Of course, they have their own profession now. Small business is part-time, and they do quite a bit of traveling, Asia and Europe, and they work there. And New York is their base. And this is the first time I had time to visit with them since I was married in 2008 again. I think I visited in 2009 once, but since then I didn't get a chance to visit till after I lost my wife again. So we visited last month, and we'll be visiting again as my daughter goes back to Europe for her graduate degree, the younger daughter. She's a graduate student at Madrid University, Madrid, Spain, and she's invited me back when she graduates. I don't know what this graduation will involve. As far as I know, I'll be going if she wants me to.
And Mr. Beard, where were you born?
I was born in Chittister, Arkansas, Ouachita County, April 14, 1937. I was from a family of 6 children, and grew up with a stepmother. My mother died when I was very young, and I'm told that I was the pick of the family, the choice child, and I had everything to do with that, to my knowledge, and enjoyed farm life and school life, and as a kid in the rural in the South, being young that age, just look forward to getting away from home, and I did. And
being the pick of the litter, did you kind of rub that in the face of your siblings?
my own children?
No, your brothers, sisters?
No, they pointed out, and I thought that they were lacking in something that they should have been doing, otherwise they would have gotten the recognition that I was getting. And what I tried to do was avoid the recognition and go on with whatever I was doing, because I always did more at home than was required of me. So I did that in college, and then I did it in teaching as a teacher, and I'm doing it in the community now. And it appears that you're bragging, but you do more if you want more, and then you get more when you give more. So I guess it started at home with my dad. He did more than he had to do or needed to do, and when he would give back to the community, his church and community, people thought that he was doing it for pay or recognition. But he knew that if he didn't do or give, it wouldn't be done in many cases, and everybody would be in need or lack of suffering. I suppose that's where I picked it up from. It's the same here.
So you were what position among how many siblings? How many brothers and sisters?
I was one of 6 children, 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls.
And where were you in age with the others?
I was next to the baby. The baby's still living. He's been a minister since he was 16, and we're quite different. And my sister in Little Rock, who was a teacher, and I are much alike because we give a lot. And the others didn't finish college, but they are doing well.
I'm not familiar with the Arkansas town that you mentioned. It's
Chittister is in Washita County. We like to often refer to it as the deer and armadillo capital of the state of Arkansas because it's flooded with those animals. Chidester. And when people refer to it as Chidester, those natives from the late 1800s that I knew, and my dad who was born in the 1800s, and the younger people of the Depression area, they don't like for you to refer to it as Chidester. And they're not called Washita County, Ouachita counties. This is in southern Arkansas. They were very specific and exact about the pronunciation of the small town and the county.
How do they pronounce the county?
Washita.
Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah, not Oquita.
Yeah, when we get visitors that say Ouachita, can you tell me how to get to Lake Ouachita?
No, you must get that right.
You're not from here,
you will be corrected very immediately if you don't get Chittister, Arkansas, and Washita County exactly right. We take a lot of pride in people who drive through the town of Washita County, Chittister, Arkansas, and Washita County on Highway 24. Quite often refer to it as being very clean, and I always appreciate that. We're down to very few businesses there now. One main store. It used to be, a very active community with several businesses on the little strip, the Highway 24, and many communities are.
Okay,
like
so
that.
you had had more ambition than most that were around you when you were in school and growing up.
I suppose.
And you went. Where did you go to school first?
I went to Arkansas Baptist College, bachelor's degree in English, and from there, graduate school, University of Wisconsin. I planned to go to graduate school before I finished college.
Why Wisconsin?
The reason for Wisconsin is because I was a resident there. I became a resident there while I worked between 1956 and 1961 when I went there during the summers to work.
Probably 19, right?
19, did I say 19?
18.
19.
You said 1850.
Yeah, my daughter told me, she said, watch it, Dad. You remember, it's not like it was 25 years ago.
1856. You're not that old.
1956 out of high school to 1961. I lived with my brother in Wisconsin, so I established residence there with him and voted there. I registered to vote there and registered as an absentee voter and voted in Little Rock the first time as an absentee voter from the state of Wisconsin.
Oh. Was that with a view as far as residency in Wisconsin?
That's what I was establishing.
It was a view to go to school there?
Yes. Had I gone to school as an out-of-state student, it would cost $365 of tuition. This is $61 now. As a resident, I was able to go at $125 per semester for tuition. Well, I learned that as a junior.
Yeah, they've gone up, I'm pretty sure, since then.
Oh, well, many, many times. yeah, many times. And I had that in mind, and I knew that other students from my college, Arkansas Baptist College, had gone there and had certified. I have to explain to people what certified means, but when you went to Arkansas Baptist College 4 years back then, your degree was not accepted by the State Department of Education until you went to graduate school, where the graduate school had to be a part of the North Central Association Accreditation of Secondary Schools, and University of Wisconsin was. You had to get at least 2 B's, and course in education if you plan to teach, and I did that. And I didn't only do that, I stayed there 1 year and I obtained some 24 hours of graduate study there, although I didn't get the master's degree from there. Master's degree came from Henderson later, because I just was not determined to be the average person, go to college and come out 4 years start teaching.
Where did you first have a teaching job?
First teaching job was at Arkansas Baptist College after 24 hours of graduate study at the University of Wisconsin. The first teaching job was at Arkansas Baptist College in 1962 as Dean of Men and Teacher of English. And then the graduate school,
And that is where?
Arkansas Baptist College in Little Rock, Arkansas at 1600 Martin Luther King. That's not too far from Central High School, where in 1957 it was first integrated.
And you taught
I
what
taught,
there?
I taught English at Arkansas Baptist College. We called it the Dean of Men at that time, and now it's another term for the counselors, but that's what I did. And it was a salary of a couple $100 a month, and I did that for a year before I came to Hot Springs. Started working here as an English teacher and attending graduate school, University of Missouri, and then at Henderson.
You came here and worked as an English teacher for the city public schools?
Hot Springs schools.
High school? Elementary?
Well, it was Hot Springs School District, but it was Langston Junior and Senior High School.
Okay.
And this was in 1963. And I stayed here and later taught at Hot Springs High School, taught at Jones, and after I left the profession, I went in the insurance business at Metropolitan Life. Of course, I had been elected to public office at that time, and the career just continued into retirement. I worked in Little Rock, in the Pulaski County School District, and in Little Rock School District. Retired in '99, and that's when I conceived this matter of writing about the challenges that I'm writing about now.
Elected to public office as an alderman, right, for the
I was
city of Hot
elected to
Springs?
public office as an alderman in 1970. Took office January 1st, 1971. I was re-elected 7 times, and I served some 15 years, 5 months, and 20 days, and 30 minutes, and retired.
30 minutes.
Well, the system changed. I was never voted out.
But it was
official.
8 terms, or part of 7 full terms and part of the 8th term?
Part of the 8th term.
Okay.
The voters changed the system from alderman, mayor, form of government to city manager, board of director, form of government. And doing so, I got voted out of office along with,
Oh, that's when that happened?
yes,
Ah,
I didn't lose to someone, I lost to the system.
yeah.
The system changed.
And let me ask you a question on that, since it's a subject that's maybe of some mutual interest. What's your preference for a system of city government? City director government, or
My
city manager
preference
government, or alderman?
It's alderman, mayor. If we had alderman, mayor, we'd know what's going on in the community because we'd be charged with responsibility of keeping up what's going on.
Yeah.
The board of directors direct, just like they're supposed to do. And the citizens are expected to keep their community intact as such. Directors are not paid.
So did you vote in the last election to return to aldermanic government?
I voted for everyone and I've lost everyone.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean the recent election to
The
return
recent
to
election, I
government.
think we've done that about 3 times.
Yeah.
And I only found one other person, maybe 2, my late wife and I voted for it, and I saw one other person voted for it. I think we lost 9-1, you know. That was about 10% of the people for returning to alderman, mayor form of government.
The sign out front, I guess it'd be better to do that, but just let me ask you first in case we forget. The sign out front that some people want changed, is it because the term Negro?
A student mentioned that, yes.
Is it because the word Negro is out of fashion?
I suppose because we have a group that come here with Leadership Hot Spring Youth Group, it is. And they come on Martin Luther King Day celebration. They see that, and when they hear, white students throughout the county, when they hear the elimination or efforts to eliminate the term black and white from basically everything that we do in our community, and they see that sign, they said that, well, why you want to still use that sign on your building when we are trying to become integrated as opposed to desegregated? It's a term that I quite often use, and I don't think they know our history to the extent that we can't bear our past. We were 2 communities at one time, and to do that would be like saying that this is not Webb Community Center because Johnny L. Webb didn't exist. We can't do that. We didn't have a Malvern Avenue, which we had businesses on. We didn't have a Langston School. We can't do that. We can't bury Langston. We can't bury Webb Center. We can't bury Roanoke Baptist Church and not ever mention the fact that it was found by ex-slaves and slave masters. We can't change.
Well,
that
point sounds a little bit to me similar to the one that's argued about the Confederate, the Confederate
I
stuff.
expect you to say that, and I expect them to give reason for
Well, I'm not arguing anything about it.
No,
I'm just observing that it's a similar point.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, of course. What we would hope people would be able to do is change their hearts and spirits and attitude
Yeah.
towards each other,
Yeah.
human being, regardless of their
Don't pretend
sign.
that there's no history.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if this is time to mention this, there is an atmosphere in Hot Springs, and you may appreciate this. I'm sure you appreciate this, where people are more civil in the last 90 days, the last year, than I have ever seen in Hot Springs, resulting, I believe, from some of the evils that have taken place in America that's on camera.
Yeah. I think
I see it in the
people are
police
so
department.
revulsed by that they're being more deliberate to be civil.
Whites, let me say it this way, whites are opening their eyes, they are learning, they are feeling
Yeah.
that there have been some mistreatment, some abuse, some criminal acts by people in public office to African Americans in the past, to the extent that they don't want to be a part of that. And they put forth a special effort. As I move by, I can see it and feel the community. That's a plus for Hot Springs. I don't know about the state and the nation, but I'm hearing this same kind of thing from other people locally in Hot Springs. I feel like, I planned this statement very well, that I'm near the citizen that I should and ought to have been all of my life, now more than ever before, since what happened in Missouri, what happened in New York, and what happened in Ohio. And you have the details on that. You were in the news media. What happened in Texas. I think there's a relationship of that to people's civility in Hot Springs, being civil and being human and treating people as they should be treated. That's a plus.
Yeah, I guess again, I'd say I think I'll just say maybe for myself too, just so horrified by some of that behavior
Thank you.
that people are conscious or thinking about
That's the key word.
being more civil on purpose.
I thought I would bring that up because I was sharing that with someone last night. A policeman is fired and he's jailed, and he then some group comes up, I'm talking about Ohio and defends him, and people are confused. Human beings are human beings, and they always have been.
Okay, let me ask you about something that's a little odd to my thinking, and that's not when you look at the history, but presently. Anyway, the name of the NAACP, it stands for
National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, founded in Hot Springs, 1942, in closets of hotels on Malvern and Central Avenue, secretly, and chartered November 11th, 1942, in Hot Springs. That's just different from the state and from the nation.
now, colored people, and particularly years ago, used to be a reference to people in America of African descent.
That is correct.
In a broader sense, you can say colored people refers to all people. Everybody's got some kind of color.
That is correct again.
And all over the world, even Aborigines in Australia, or dark-skinned men in India, or olive-colored skinned in the Middle East. They're all colored, and we're all mostly brown. We're all mostly brown. You're a little different tint than I am, but I'm certainly not white.
Okay.
Right. So, I guess part of the name colored is not an acceptable term to refer to citizens of America of African descent anymore, is it?
Yes, it is.
It is okay?
It's okay when you're referring to the National Association for the Advancement. Now, whether you refer to colored people, as black, or Negro, or as African Americans, it's not really a fact. It's what takes place in your heart and your action. But at 1909, that was totally acceptable and totally appropriate.
Right.
And it's in the contents of all the progress, basically, that we've made 106 years, I believe it is. This is 2015. And that word colored, without being in that name, I can't imagine what it would do to our organization. I just left the convention in Philadelphia.
Now, I'm not myself extremely concerned about always being politically correct, but if I were, and I wanted to be politically correct in how I refer to American citizens of African descent, What is the most PC term to use?
Current term that we are using now for African Americans.
Okay.
I'm more concerned about your treatment, your behavior than I am the
Well,
term
and
that
I
you-
agree with you
Thank you.
entirely about that. I would be, I mean, who shouldn't be more concerned about that?
Yes.
That's appropriate. Okay.
Am I gonna get a break in this?
Oh, you want to take a break?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, let's pause it here.
My daughter, who is in journalism, is concerned about me right now. I told her I'd be doing this morning. She said, "Daddy, take some notes. You're not in your 40s and 50s anymore, and I've heard you in the past. Know what you're talking about and try to remember." Well, I can't assure her or you how well I can remember at 78 when I've been doing this since 1969.
Yes. I passed Clay a note. Two things you said to me on the phone were about Tweedletown, and maybe the people were named Tweedle, if you'd talk about
Yeah,
that. And then there were
Honey
two,
Tweedle, yes.
yeah, there were two candidates, one black and one white, and the voters got confused. And
Tweedletown is a community in South Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's basically near Jones School and around the area of Lacey Street, according to Charles Smith, who's a citizen of Tweedletown. And what I know about it is that there were many families of Tweedles there. One of them had a business on Malvern Avenue, referred to him as Honey Tweedle. His name was Raymond Tweedle. He ran for public office, but the year he ran, there was also another man running by the name of Freddie Martin in 1954. The other part of the story is there was a white man running whose name was Clifford Martin in 1954. Now, in 1954 and preceding that year, Clifford Martin had run many times with JP as alderman, both positions, never losing, well known. I learned later he had a service station, he never stopped campaigning. Clifford ran and won every year. But in 54, you have to know a little about the history. Brown versus the Board of Educators of Topeka, Kansas took place on May 17, 1954, United States Supreme Court decision regarding desegregation of the public schools. So that was a major step in the progress of the African American community. And the NAACP was behind that all the time. Well, in August, when it came time to file for alderman, the alderman had been wanting to run and never felt free or comfortable enough to run in the black community until 1954. So Freddie Martin, Honey Tweedle from Tweedletown. Freddie Martin was from Uptown. Uptown is like Cedar Street, Whitman Avenue, Ozark Street. Freddie Martin was from there, and Honey Tweedle's from South Hot Springs. The white community knew Honey Tweedle's was from Tweedletown. They weren't about to vote him in, but Honey Tweedle won in his district, where there were black people. Freddie Martin ran in his district. He ran citywide, but he won in his district and won wherever there was black. Now the confusion came up when Clifford Martin had been running every year and winning every year. A majority of whites voted for Clifford Martin, for Freddie Martin instead of Clifford Martin, and Freddie Martin defeated Clifford Martin in 1954. Think for a minute. This is 15 years before we could get the election of alderman by ward, and we never get another African American elected after 1954 until 1970 when I ran. The typist that I use referred to it as the Martin mix-up, but Freddie Martin did win. Now, someone would say, well, what difference does that make? It makes a lot of difference. He ran for re-election, he lost. He ran again, this is not re-election. This is a third time, he lost. He ran again and he lost. We never did get another African American elected as alderman until 1970. So my typist referred to it as the Martin mix-up. I think it's interesting that Honey Tweedle ran again and he never won again. It's more interesting that between 1954 and 1969, there was a total of 10 African Americans running in the black community, and Freddie Martin was the only winner as an alderman. Margaret Martin won as a justice of peace. I think that every African American that ran for JP ran. JPs had no opponents. There was 60, 70, or 80 JPs. There's no way you could lose. You was the only one running for your position during that time. But for city alderman, where that was $100 a month, you have some authority in your community, that was a no-no. Basically, the system didn't allow that. And I think it's interesting that we note this. For that reason, mainly, and along with the other information needed about the 62 other candidates that ran for public office, a total of 63, which included Elmer Beard, included me. I have a book that's called The Challenges, because Freddie Martin challenged the system. Honey Tweedle challenged the system. Honey Tweedle from Tweedletown, he couldn't win. His name wouldn't let him. Freddie Martin ran, he won, challenged the system, and it was good for the community.
Hold that thought, if you would, right there. Let's go to the book now. Mr. Beard, you are now an author of a interesting sounding book. Tell us the title of that book, and I think there's a subtitle as well.
Yes, the title of the book is The Challenges. Untold Stories of African Americans Who Changed the System in One Small Southern Town. That southern town is Hot Springs. And the story begins in 1954. It goes through 2010, although it doesn't quite end there, because that's the year that I began getting funding for the publishing of the book, and the book is in the process of being published at that time. But the book contained 63 narratives, 63 profiles of the 63 candidates who ran for public office. It consists of statistics on the winners and the losers, and various breakdowns of everything that they had done before then, and the businesses that they were in during the time of the writing. The NAACP Writing Project Committee established this in 2005 after I lost my first wife, Dorothy Beard. There was a void in my life, and this helped to fill it, because she and I had talked about this since 1999 when I retired from teaching. I asked her, what did she think about my getting involved in this kind of work that would involve years in fundraising and organizing people to help me with it. Her basic statement was, go for it. So I went for it, and when she became ill, her health and everything related to the family took priority over the writing. After her death, I immediately influenced the NAACP to organize a committee known as the NAACP Writing Project Committee, which still exists. That Writing Project Committee was able to solicit 5 grants, small grants, from 4 different sources, and I'm expecting a 6th grant within the next 30 days for the funding of the challenge. The challenge is the story of these candidates who ran for public office, regardless of whether they won or lost. And the reason I emphasize candidates running for public office, filing for public office, as opposed to winners, because I want to point out it's necessary that you run, whether you win or not. It's necessary that you get your name in the public when you made a contribution to the community, and let it be known that you want to challenge the system. You want to challenge the person that holds the office. You want to challenge an office if nobody holds it, and you are capable of holding it. And it's becoming to be an excellent product. It's going to be very valuable and important to those who like Hot Springs. It's going to be very encouraging to Hot Springs.
Are the grants, the money from the grants, to pay for the actual cost of publication?
The answer is yes. The publication has been over, looked like to me, 16 years, since 1999. Actually, there's no expense involved until 2010 when I started to have typing done. And my typist has never had a real charge, but I've managed to honor her with some type of finance, because she has learned so much, she has enjoyed it so much. The same with the publisher and everybody involved. But there is an expense in publication, as you would know, and I would hope to have the book on the market. Market means ready for distribution in months, this year, 2015. Regarding the charge, I can't make a statement on that. I did not ever plan for this to become a book from the outset. I had a master's degree. I knew how to write. I knew how to compose. I referred to it as a study. The author would be Elmer Beard himself, but the publisher said this is more than a study. He was so moved by Muscadine Press in Hot Springs, John Archibald, the publisher. He was so moved by it till we changed the word of study to book, and that's how it developed into
Muscadine Press in Hot Springs?
Benton, Arkansas.
Okay, I thought that's what you had said earlier. Yeah.
I may be getting these terms reversed.
Sorry, I just wanted to be sure we didn't misstate that.
Okay. It's the Muscadine Press of Benton, Arkansas. Johnny Archibald is the owner of the company, and he's in the process of getting it published at this time, and I'm still raising money. I'm still.
So will this be a softback, hardback?
It will be a softback. We can't afford the hardback. Hardback is what I want. I'd like to have a hardback. If I could raise some money between now and then, we change and go for a hardback.
Like an 8.5 by 11 format kind of size?
That's been discussed. That's what I would hope, but it may be smaller book. The details on that is not too clear, and Johnny and I have to decide on that. He can't do this free. He's in the business to make money. He has to.
But hoping to have that on the market and available to the public maybe this year.
I tried to avoid in the past setting a date, but
Yeah.
I definitely want this to be in existence for Martin Luther King's birthday when we come together in 2016 for the celebration of the Martin Luther King birthday in 2016. I'd like to have these being distributed by that time. Of course, when they are distributed outside of Hot Springs, where they have to be mailed, that becomes an expense, and I don't know about the funds.
Do you have photos of the photographs of the 63 challengers in your book?
There would be between 30 and 40. There will only be photos of the individuals. There'll be photos of Webb Community Center, Ronald Baptist Church, the National Baptist Hotel. I don't remember, maybe Langston School, where I taught, where many of these challengers, many of these individuals that ran for public office were students. Various photos of ideas, a concept of places in the community. I know it's more than 30, and I even got another photo yesterday of one of the deceased persons. By the way, 33 are deceased, I believe, and 30 are still alive, the best I can recall for this of the contents of these challenges in this book. And I'm looking forward to it. I've had great support from the committee, great support from my daughter, who's a journalist, and the community deserves this. I owe it to them. That's it. That's an explanation that they give. Someone said, why you spend so much time on this? I said, why you spend so much time living? That's my response. You know, you breathe. Don't you get tired? You get tired of living? This is life. You know, what if I woke up tomorrow morning with nothing to write or something that was complete? I don't want to complete it. I want to complete this, but this is not all I'm writing. I started writing poetry before I started writing this, and I committed myself to completing this because I didn't want my daughter to try to complete something that she didn't know about. Because when I became an alderman, she wasn't born. But I started writing poetry from high school, and she'll take care of that. But for the challenges, I'm anxious to get this done next week, next month, definitely this year.
Now, regarding your education career, you are retired from teaching?
I'm retired from teaching English, and
when did you retire? What year did you retire?
1999 on the 23rd of March at 3:42 p.m.
That's disgusting that you would remember that.
You see, I came out at the end of a quarter. Nobody knew I was leaving but the principal. And she and I agreed to not tell it until she announced it. It came as a surprise. Because I had days left and I had committed myself to not to be there on my 67th birthday, and I wasn't there. And I was glad to leave, and glad to leave when with no party.
Some people, when they're retired, they get so busy they don't know how they ever had time to work.
Yes, I think it happened to me. Yeah. I think it happened to me because there are not many days that I'm not by the Webb Center, and there are so many people at this building, and at this center that would give it much more than I'm giving to the community. So I'm anxious to get this book in circulation. I'm very proud of the history of Webb Center and all the contributions everybody makes here. Without it, I don't know if I would have a base or not.
Okay. Well, any concluding remark that you might especially want to make?
One would be to give back to the community where you live more than you get from it, if you possibly can. That everybody owes something. A bit of my philosophy is that nothing is free, not even freedom. The world learned that 9/11. It has changed since then, and in Hot Springs we are recognizing that now. We are careful as to how we protect ourselves and how we go about our activities. We still have to give back, because the more we give back, the more we get, and I believe in that sincerely. I feel indebted to Hot Springs. I've been here since 1963, and I plan to be here forever, and plan to give back forever. And I'm looking forward to the publishing of the challenges and getting it in the hands of as many people as I possibly can, so they can see what a section of the community has done in Hot Springs that we never knew about. These are untold stories that need to be told.
Well, we'll look forward to, we hope that does happen, that this year sometime you're able to share that with the community. Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you. I don't know, everybody begins, almost everybody, answer the question with the adverb well.
That drives me crazy.
I thought I was the one that noticed.
No, that's how I rate the people as to whether they're good or not, whether they say well. I hate that.
Well,
He's teasing. Last night there were 2 or 3 that didn't say well. I go for, I do 2 channels at once.
Yeah.
I'll do Fox and Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
And I go to these different rooms and see if somebody gonna answer questions without well what answer?
Yes.
And I'm hearing more.
is so better? Is it so? Does that work?
That one is worn out also.
So then.
Well, 90% of them will start with well.
90% or more and well. And when they don't, I said, this person is rehearsed. This person is
Or
prepared.
intelligent.
Oh, intelligent.
Yes.
Oh boy.
That has bothered me too, as much as you.
Who else?
I was an English major.
Did you teach?
No. No, my wife tells me I would have been a horrible teacher. Well, I never did.
So
if I try to explain something, I leave out too many steps and people get confused.
You have to hear this. I won't be long as I was with some of these other things. In the black community, if you major in English, you teach. And that's a biased statement. In the white community, if you major in English, you can teach, you can go into writing, you can go into the newspaper, you can go into publication, you can go into TV, you can go into something that's related to it. You might not go, you go into law.
Yes. I went into accounting. I was a CPA without an accounting degree. Never had an accounting degree.
I'm not going to get extreme on this, but
Oh, go ahead.
but a buddy of mine, a friend of mine, is deceased now. He said that when white people go into teaching, they have failed. They're the one that in life that haven't done too well. The others go to college, get a degree in English, and go to whatever you're going into and do well. I had to teach. That's what I'm trying to get around to.
Yes.
I had to.
Especially at that time.
Thank you.
Yes.
You finished the paragraph for me.
Yes.
I had to teach. It was nothing else I was going to do.
Yes.
And I taught 5th grade. I taught elementary school longer than secondary. And I didn't know I had these skills of this art, and you guys are recognizing it here, and I appreciate it. Thank you for not having asked me did I ever sing.
Oh.
Would you like to?
Would you mind humming a few bars? Yeah.
Thank you for not having asked me did I ever sing.
So,
that's unusual. And
I don't get asked to sing much either. So
I did a little bit. I denied because I conceived it as being something like bias or prejudice. I did.
Baritone or bass?
Bass in the college choir and a little at the church, and opposed to it, and because it's expected, you know. Choir couldn't be in journalism, radio, TV, newspaper. Of course, you mentioned the '60s when I grew up. The '50s was different, and I applied for a job once, and then a fellow asked me and said that, "Why don't you think of playing baseball?" Yes, he knew if you were a super baseball player, you could play with the Dodgers eventually. The Dodgers was just breaking in with Jackie Robinson. We had to overcome all that. Anyway, I was supposed to be a mortician.
You did what to a mortician?
I was supposed to have been.
You were supposed to have been?
Yes, from the age of 6 to 22.
Huh.
Who decided that?
Decided not, I decided that.
Who decided that you should have been one?
I did. You see, in the black community, funerals, when I was growing up, were beginning to take place during the week, not just Saturday. Most of them are Saturday now, for some whatever reason. And they were Saturday and Sunday back then, but Sunday is very, very rare today. Probably not at all. They're Saturday funerals. Back then they were Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes during the week. I saw a black man with a gray suit on during the week when I was 6 years old. I said, here's a man with a suit on, and he's not a preacher. He's assisting people around this casket. He's directing the service. The body is in the cemetery. He pushes a button, and the body goes down in the grave. Well, you got to be different. You got to have some knowledge and some skills and art. That's something to do other than preach or teach. That's how it happened. And this went on till 2 years in college, and it's time to go to mortician science school, and I'm falling in love with college and the girls, and it's less expensive to go to college than it is to go to mortician science school. Tuition when I was in college was $50. I couldn't go to mortician science school in Chicago or Memphis or somewhere for $50 a semester tuition, and that was basically it. And then mortician got put aside. Am I holding you guys up?
No.
Not at all.
So do you wallow in regret sometimes over not being a mortician?
The answer is no. But I still admired it and got a lot of respect for it. I would have been a better business person than many that I've seen, I think. Because I would have had 2 years before I began. One of the great morticians across the street, Harrison Mortuary, and he didn't like the profession. He got tricked into it by his dad. See, his dad had the funeral home, his granddad had it, and so he had to have it too. He didn't like that idea. He wanted to teach, would you believe? Because that's where the girls was and the football and the whole works. And his son is not having. His son is in his 40s. He's not having a funeral home. About 5 generations. They all were preachers, and they were in the film business. But that last son, funeral home was closed. It closed with the death of his dad, who was my age, Albert Harrison. When he died, the funeral home closed.